Tuesday, Colombian lawmakers introduced a tax reform proposal aimed at raising $4 billion for Bogotá's treasury. Colombian President Iván Duque's government previously tried and failed to pass wide-ranging tax reforms. The previous reform legislation led to nationwide protests and riots, with the opposition claiming that Duque's reforms would only exacerbate Colombia's rampant economic inequality. As a result, lawmakers agreed to revise the bill. The riots, combined with the deterioration of public finances, rising government debt, and the past 2 years of large fiscal deficits, have led both Fitch and S&P to downgrade Bogotá's sovereign debt to junk status.
Todo esto en un marco de austeridad en el gasto público y, por supuesto, de lucha contra la corrupción y la evasión.
Shifting the message away from tax increases, Duque's government seeks to increase enforcement of tax collection, go after tax evasion, increase business taxes, and cut government spending. If this bill passes, Bogotá's credit rating will not be raised. However, this year's projected fiscal deficit of 8.6% of GDP will be reduced to 7% next year, and the country will be on good footing to enact further economic reforms in 2022. On Wednesday, the German government launched a short-term relief program to help those affected by record floods across Western Europe, which killed over 200 people. More than $350 million will be deployed in immediate relief, with billions more allocated to fix the flood damage in the coming weeks. The extreme weather leading to the floods has been attributed to climate change, prompting German Chancellor Angela Merkel to call for a redoubling of political focus on environmental policy. Although the European Union recently agreed on steps towards net zero emissions by 2050, German politicians are pointing to the floods as a reason to accelerate the timeline. With just over 2 months until the German election, expect climate change to take center stage, which will benefit the Greens, who were set to make big gains in September's poll even before this week. A Green-led government could reshape Germany's climate targets, with the Greens expected to push for emissions to be cut by 70% by 2030. A stricter climate policy from Germany could influence the acceptance and implementation of the European Green Deal, allowing the EU to become climate neutral by the middle of the century. Over 800,000 demonstrators mobilized throughout Brazil over the weekend to protest President Jair Bolsonaro's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and call for his impeachment. Brazil's COVID-19 death toll has risen to over 500,000, the second highest in the world, with its vaccination rate at only 16% of the population. Bolsonaro's lack of leadership has left 136 million people food insecure and 14% of the population unemployed. In response, protesters are demanding $115 for each Brazilian in emergency aid and increased access to vaccines. Bolsonaro also faces 122 complaints of crimes that are under review by Brazil's lower chamber of Congress. The opposition will likely cite these crimes in their calls for impeachment during Saturday's protests. In the long term, expect Bolsonaro to be challenged by leftist leader Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in the October 2022 elections, as Bolsonaro's disapproval ratings are the highest they have been since he took office in January 2019.